Imagine walking into a room and finding no body, just a pile of ash, a few unburned bones, and a bed that's still intact. Is this magic? A crime? Or something science can't yet explain? This isn't a horror movie plot. It's the true story of Mary Reeser, a 67-year-old woman whose death in July 1951 became one of the most famous examples of spontaneous human combustion, or SHC. When firefighters arrived at her home, they found something bizarre. Reeser's body had been reduced to ash, but her nightgown's hem, the rug under her chair, and even a nearby newspaper were barely singed. The metal springs of her armchair were melted, requiring temperatures over 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, yet the room's walls and ceiling showed no fire damage. How does a human body burn so intensely, without spreading fire to its surroundings? Police and fire investigators were stumped. There was no evidence of arson, no gasoline, no matches, no broken appliances. The coroner's report called it unexplained. And Mary Reeser's case catapulted SHC from a medieval myth into a modern scientific puzzle. Reeser's case wasn't an anomaly. For centuries, records have described similar events. In 1725, a Parisian woman named Nicole Millet was found burned to ash in her bed. Her husband, sleeping beside her, was unharmed. In 2010, Michael Faherty, a 76-year-old Irishman, was discovered in his living room, his body incinerated, but the TV, curtains, and even a pile of newspapers next to him were untouched. When we look at these cases, a pattern emerges, one that makes SAC both terrifying and fascinating. Normal fires consume everything in their path. A house fire, for example, burns at 1,200 to 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit and destroys walls, furniture, and anything nearby. But in SHC cases, the fire is contained to the body. How? And why only humans? For decades, scientists dismissed SAC as superstition, until 1998, when a team of researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, decided to test a bold hypothesis, the wick effect. Here's how it works. Imagine your clothes are a candle wick, and your body fat is the wax. When a small flame, like a cigarette, a match, or even a spark from an electrical outlet, ignites your clothes, the fabric burns slowly. As it burns, it melts your body fat, turning it into a liquid that soaks back into the fabric, fueling the fire for hours. This creates a slow burn that's hot enough to reduce the body to ash, over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit in some cases, but doesn't spread to nearby objects, because the fire is focused on the wick, your clothes, and the fuel, your fat. The experiment worked. The researchers replicated the key traits of SHC: localized fire, ash instead of charred flesh, and no spread to surrounding materials. Even better, the wick effect explains why some body parts remain unburned, like hands or feet. If those areas aren't covered by clothes, the wick, they don't get fuel, so they don't burn. This seemed to solve the mystery, until other cases broke the rules. The wick effect is compelling, but it can't explain every SHC case. Take the 1985 death of John O'Connor, a 58-year-old man in New York. He was found burned to ash in his apartment, but he was naked. No clothes equals no wick. How did the fire start? Or the 2006 case of a Brazilian woman, Ana Maria de Jesus, who was found incinerated in her kitchen. Firefighters found no matches, no cigarettes, no electrical malfunctions, nothing that could have started a small flame. The wick effect needs an initial spark. Without it, the theory falls apart. Dr. Roger Byard, a forensic pathologist at the University of Adelaide, once said, "We've seen cases where the body is burned so completely, even the bones turn to ash. Normal fires don't do that, even with the wick effect. Bone requires temperatures over 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit to incinerate. How does a slow-burning candle reach that heat? Then there's the smell. First responders to SAC scenes often report a sweet, acrid chemical odor, nothing like the smell of burning flesh or fabric. In normal fires, burning fat smells like burnt meat. In SHC cases, it's more like burnt plastic or formaldehyde. What causes that? And why do some SHC cases happen in places with no oxygen? In 1974, a man was found burned to ash in a sealed closet. No windows, no vents. Fire needs oxygen to burn. How did the fire keep going? When science hits a wall, wilder theories emerge. One idea is that methane, a flammable gas produced by bacteria in our guts, builds up in the body and ignites. But here's the problem. Methane needs a spark to burn, and our bodies don't produce enough of it to cause an explosion. A single human gut holds about 1 to 2 liters of methane, barely enough to light a match, let alone incinerate a body. Another theory is static electricity. We've all felt a static shock when we touch a doorknob. Could a massive static charge build up in the body and ignite? Maybe, but static shocks only reach about 30,000 volts, and they don't produce enough heat to burn flesh. To ignite human skin, you need temperatures over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. A static shock is hot, about 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit for a split second, but it's too brief to start a fire. Then there are the theories that stretch credibility: alien abductions, paranormal activity, even government experiments. But here's the truth: there's no evidence for any of these. No DNA, no witnesses, no physical traces. They're fun to talk about, but they don't help us solve the mystery. Today, technology is changing how we investigate SHC. Thermal imaging cameras can detect hidden heat sources, like a smoldering cigarette but under a couch, that might have been missed decades ago. DNA testing can tell us if a victim was using drugs, like methamphetamine, which can cause excited delirium and accidental fires. 3D scanners can map a crime scene in perfect detail, helping investigators spot patterns they might have overlooked. Dr. Jennifer Love, a fire investigator with the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, said, "In the last 10 years, we've reclassified 90% of suspected SAC cases as arson or accidental fires. For example, a 2019 case in Texas was initially labeled SHC, until we found a tiny hole in the floorboard, leading to a gas leak. The leak ignited, and the fire focused on the victim because they were sitting directly above it. But even with better tech, some cases remain unsolved. In 2021, a 62-year-old woman in Canada was found burned to ash in her bedroom. Thermal imaging showed no hidden heat sources, DNA tests found no drugs, and 3D scans revealed no signs of arson. The wick effect doesn't fit. She was wearing a thin nightgown, and there's no evidence of an initial spark. So what happened? Spontaneous human combustion is a puzzle that science hasn't fully solved. The wick effect explains many cases, but not all. Modern tech has debunked myths, but it hasn't erased the unknown. Is SHC a rare, natural phenomenon, one that we just don't understand yet? Or is it a label we use when we can't find another explanation? The truth is, we don't know. But every case, every experiment, every new piece of evidence brings us one step closer to answering the question that has haunted us for centuries. Can a human body really catch fire, all on its own?